Today, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I have an amazing human being for you on this episode 6 of In the Spotlight. Can you believe it? This person, this wonderful human being, was introduced to me, and I'm going to shout out Albert and Rudy of the Founders Network, who have established a really, really, really amazing online network for founders to meet, gather, get to know one another, connect, and collaborate. And it was through that process that I met who we're going to have on today. She is a founder. She is a social media, I would say, guru, master, sensei. She is just a wonderful human being who I have the pleasure to call a colleague, but also a friend. Heidi Medina, welcome to In the Spotlight. You're very welcome. And how are you this morning?
I am doing fabulous, even better with that intro. I mean, call it my ego boost.
There you go. There you go. I do present. I do present. Yeah. Heidi, for those who do not know you, and I know a little bit, and we've had some chats and conversations, but for those who don't know you, tell us first of all who you are, Heidi, and where you are in this wonderful world of ours.
Well, I am in Portugal. I actually from the States, but Portugal's been home for almost 6 years now. I help people do connect with people online in a way that feels more human and a more way that works for you because I do help do social media marketing strategy and combine that with business coaching because implementing marketing strategy is all about implementing new habits, new mindsets. So a little coaching is required too to get that in place. But at the end of the day, I'm really helping people get amazing conversations going with really cool people just like us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And was that always your background, Heidi, or where have you come from in terms of a business acumen?
Uh, that's a long story.
Well, we've got time. We've got time. I warned you, we've got time.
I didn't start out in the marketing. I mean, I did in my own businesses. So I actually am third generation entrepreneur. So my grandparents own their own businesses, my parents did, and I grew up in the family produce farm. And so I've actually been selling and marketing products since I was big enough to walk and talk. I
Wow.
mean, I remember my first memory was always picking out the biggest watermelons and selling those to the people that came in the door. I mean, it was only a little thing. So, you know how that is. Cute little redhead girl. Of course, they're going to buy the one I'm pointing out. But yes, but I learned early on at using organic marketing that is literally just connecting with people. Of course, I didn't know it was marketing or organic marketing or anything else at that time. I was simply talking to people. And I've carried that through. I've built 5 businesses now. I'm on the fifth one, hopefully the last one. But I got into because I did. It's like where do I start? My first business I actually started with my little sister, my second sister. When I was 13, she was 11. We started a growing flowers because my parents were only doing produce at the time, and we had this idea. It was kind of like our version of a lemonade stand, but it was growing flowers. And so my dad footed us 300 bucks that year to buy pots, dirt, seed, and everything. And then we grew, I think it's 5 types of flowers that year and sold them all out.
Wow.
So I know here we are. I've just barely started high school at that point. She's still in middle school area. And we kept growing that business until I hit my senior year in high school that it got so busy because I was getting ready for uni. I was in advanced classes. I was already taking some college prep. So my dad took it over at that point. And actually, that business is still working today under my dad and little sister, my little sister. And then by 21, I started my second business, which turned into a multi six-figure landscape company that had a 2-year waiting list built entirely on word of mouth, reputation, and again, just having conversations with people is how I got my clients. So that continued on until I took a different turn in life. I started over completely. Divorce, a whole bunch of mess, and just started over completely. And went into corporate management for a couple of years before I figured out my third business, which was a cleaning company, because it was something I could do easily during the 2008 recession. And I built a cleaning business at a time when people told me no one will pay for that because it's a luxury service. Well, tell that to the lady who's too pregnant to clean her house, or the business professionals are still working, want to come home to clean home. I built a cleaning business, but I always had this dream of wanting to be able to work from anywhere in the world on a computer. So, um, I broke my ankle. It wasn't sexy. Everybody says to tell me it was a skiing accident, but it wasn't. I fell down the stairs with a laundry basket. Broke
Okay.
my ankle. So I had to shelve the cleaning business. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I had already been food blogging for a little while at that point, and I just loved it. And I was like, well, content writing and getting on social media is something that I can do anywhere in the world on a laptop. So I started doing writing for corporate at that point, doing and managing their content. And then eventually, because it's always been drawn back to small businesses, I came back to this business so I could help more small business owners online connect with people and get more clients.
Wow.
Probably
So
long answer.
yeah, but really interesting, Heidi, in terms of progression, and it sounds as if you have were you born with the spirit of entrepreneurship, do you think?
No, I mean, I'll tell you, for me, for entrepreneurship is the fact that, so I've got a neurospicy brain. I'm high functioning autistic. I'm also very high IQ.
Hmm.
And between those two things, I'm able to spot patterns. I am able to solve problems a lot quicker. And working as an employee was honestly pure hell.
Yeah,
So I get things done in about 3 hours that everybody else takes 10 to 8 hours a day to do. And I'm just sitting there, I'm bored. I need a lot more stimulation than that. So the traditional corporate life just didn't work for me. And it also might have come from growing up in that atmosphere too. Our parents taught us to really think for ourselves, figure it out, do things. We were raised
mm,
very independently. So
mm,
none of that really works for the employment side of things when you think about it. It's always an entrepreneur side of things where you can set your own rules, your own place. That for me is just where it's at. And I just see where so many people struggle being employees because the systems that are set up for employees just don't work.
yeah,
I mean, you're paid by the hour. I mean, if you're salary employed, you're still more or less paid by the hour. You're required to show up a certain amount of hours a week. You grind it out. You don't have a freedom to think and solve things in a way that works best for you.
yeah.
And so I think that's what breeds them entrepreneurs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it very much, again, similar to my own story, where I started my own businesses, as it were, when I was 13. I washed windows with a mate of mine one summer and we smashed it out of the park. And again, you had the idea, you had the belief, and you just go for it, right? And I'm
Yeah.
particularly interested to hear that when you set up your cleaning business in 2008, you had the naysayers out there who said, this isn't going to work and people aren't going to buy this because, it's a luxury, right? But yet it was a successful business for you. Is it also, part of it that you take the naysayers with a pinch of salt and actually you have that belief in yourself and you just go for it?
Think it's a combination, yes, because that was already my third business. So
Yeah,
I already knew how to up and run a business. But I will say that cleaning business was my first time venturing into online marketing. Because I think you guys have Craigslist. It's a big ad
yeah,
service.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. So that was my first place of venturing into online marketing to get clients. And before that, it was always word of mouth or more traditional advertising. I never had to do paid ads. I've never done paid ads. Over 30 years in business, I've never done paid ads. I'm fully on board. They're great for scaling. But I've just never needed them because how you connect with people. And that's what I did through that was literally I tweaked out the Craigslist ads till they were actually communicating with people with where they are
Mm.
to solve a problem with what they are. But it's I mean, for me, it was necessity as to why I started that cleaning business. I had gotten laid off from my corporate job at that point. I hadn't decided to go into being a business owner again, but I was literally putting in hundreds of applications because that recession was really bad in the States, and I know
Yeah.
pretty bad around the world at that point.
Yeah.
And so my industries weren't opening back up at that point. I mean, mostly everything I did was something to do with landscape industry plants. Now, that is a luxury service. A lot of people will go ahead and put that on hold at that point because I was used to doing multi-million dollar landscapes for large corporations or big landscapes for, the rich and famous, that kind of stuff. Because I worked for movie stars, I worked for big CEOs. I've done landscapes for like GE, City of Wilmington, places like Walmart, even. And here it was like, what can I do in this economy that people will still pay for? And I just said, and what do I have the funds to do? So that business was kind of just a necessity of house cleaning. Once again, that ability to spark patterns. Never wanted to be a house cleaner, but it's something I'm very good at. I could just see how it all works together. And so I
Yeah.
did, and it was very successful.
Wow.
Um, just don't fall and break your ankle.
You know, with a laundry basket, right? Yeah.
It happens.
How ironic it was a laundry basket being a cleaning business. Do you know what I mean? It's just it just has that little bit of irony about it, right?
Yeah.
So how how did you get to your present business? Obviously, I presume it was all about spotting patterns and looking at analytics and how people were presenting themselves online. Wh- wh- I suppose it begs the question, and I know a lot of people probably will be asking this question: What are we doing right, and what are we doing wrong, and how do we improve? And all those are loaded questions. Those are loaded questions. So,
It is. Let's see if we can break that down. So it's pretty easy to say, and I hate to say what people are, that you're doing it wrong, but in
yeah,
reality, that is what's happening.
yeah,
The majority of people are online. There's a huge disconnect. The minute you get a screen and a keyboard between you, there becomes this disconnect that you don't have when you're meeting a person face to face.
yeah.
And that's the biggest thing that, in my opinion, people are doing wrong is instead, what I always tell my clients is if you won't say or do it in person, don't do it online. And that's the disconnect. But there's two thought processes there. First of all, people are saying and doing things they won't do in person online.
Okay.
They say things to people, how they show up. I mean, ghosting, some of the comments people make. It's a whole disconnect that this is still part of the real world. I hear a lot of people say they only call the offline world the real world, but social media is part of our lives. It's part of the real world. It has real world repercussions depending on what you do. And especially as business owners, it has real world repercussions to our bank accounts, and whether you
Mm,
get clients or not. So the big thing is people aren't talking to people like human beings, and that's that disconnect. They're thinking in the terms of I need to post content. I need to leave comments. And all of that is to satisfy algorithms. It's to satisfy a marketing strategy. None of those things, when you think about it, are very human feeling, right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, if you think about it, oh, I need to post content. Where's my thoughts about my ideal client? Where's the thoughts about instead, what if I say, I want to go out and solve the problem of this person I want to work with today?
yeah.
Get that in your head. And that's the other thing I see is people don't get to know their ideal client well enough. They think that this is just a marketing tool, and there's a very big disconnect with that. Again, the disconnect from the human is, but when you truly get to know your ideal client and then you have pictures, I have a list right here. These are all people that I want to work with. And I keep a list like that. These are people that I would like, they're dream clients for me. They're people I truly want to work with. And I keep that list laying where I can see it because that way, when I'm creating content, I can say, okay, how do I want to talk to this person
Yeah.
today so that they hear me? And so I'm talking to a person again. And I do that with content and comments, and that's what I really help people do is connect that human side of things back in. Get to know your people so that you're actually talking to them. You're having a conversation with them instead of, I just need to post content. I need to drop 10 comments because that's what's going to get my content seen. See, there's a difference there.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And you speak eloquently about the human connection there. Our human connection is the same face to face as it should be online, but therein is the disconnect, right? And that's what people aren't seeing at the moment.
It is. And I mean, my husband David is a big one on this. And he said, because we were talking one day, and he said it probably the best I've heard anyone say it. He's like, yeah, the disconnect for me is it's not like, because I'm always saying, imagine you're sitting at for a coffee with a friend and they're across the table from you. What would you say? And he said, the disconnect for me is that I don't get the immediate reply back. And he said, so it doesn't feel like a conversation because of that. And I'm like, but you text people on your phone and you feel like that's a conversation. They get back to you when they can. It's not immediate. I mean, it can be, but it's not always. And I said, so what if you apply that same mindset to the comments that you left? And what if you had the intentions of when you put down those comments, instead of saying, I'm going to comment because I need to comment because it's going to help me get seen, to
Mm.
I'm going to have a conversation with someone and I know they're going to reply back to me. What would I say that's going to entice them to continue that conversation?
Yeah.
Changes things, right?
It does.
Even though there's a
It
wait.
flips it up. It just flips it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it does. And when we do that, then all of a sudden things start changing with how we connect and communicate.
Yeah.
Because I think there's also a lack of expectation that someone is going to talk back to you.
Yeah. You're almost giving out the opportunity or the invitation for somebody to
Is
respond in kind, right?
Yeah, if you go in with the intentions, when I create content, my content is a conversation. It's a conversation starter. And that's why a lot of people are like, I don't know what to say online. I'm like, they've already given you the starter. They've already opened the
Yeah,
door. There's your conversation. Just go from that point. You
yeah,
don't have to think about it. To me, it's almost easier than if you walked up to someone in public and you wanted to start a conversation. You know nothing about that person at that point. Let's just say it's a complete stranger. You met them on the street, you met them at a networking event. You don't know them yet. And how do you break the ice? Well, a lot of us, we start with the weather, something non threatening, of course. But in this case, social media is an advantage. You've already got a starting point that's deeper than the weather.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And case in point, as if to prove the point, if we needed to prove the point. But you and I met through the Founders Network, right?
Yeah.
Tell the listeners what your kind of approach was initially in terms of our engagement together.
Yeah, it was pretty cool because we were dumped in a one-to-one room, which is
Yeah,
really something really special about the founders. We get to meet people a little more intimately. But I went into this. I mean, you're an entirely different background. You're in the wellness industry. I mean, I know you use marketing, all businesses do, but still, you're in the wellness industry. Here I am over here helping business owners um, do marketing and stuff. But I'm sitting here, I'm like, this is going to be just a cool conversation to meet a new person, but we've got not a lot in common. So I didn't expect anything at all to come out of it other than meeting a cool person, having a
yeah,
neat conversation. And then
yeah,
I thought we'd walk away. and that would probably been it. Other than seeing each other at Founders or something like that. I
You
didn't
know.
think that I seriously did, and that was my disconnect in that for some reason, because I know I can connect with anyone anywhere,
Mm,
but like I said, I knew it would be a good conversation. I knew we would have a good time in that aspect. But as far as doing anything together, I didn't have that expectation.
yeah.
And I mean, look at us now. I mean, here I am on your show, doing this. You're going to be coming up on my show.
Yes,
Was
sorry.
I think it's next month, right?
It
March.
is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And you introduced me to someone else who has a show, and I'm getting to know them. I mean, and I've got people I've got to introduce you to. There's this whole connection and thing because we realized how much we have in common through that 8-minute conversation.
Yeah.
And then it was amazing. I mean, because then we got on a call and realized how much more we have in common. And it was just like this whole thing. It's like, oh, this is, I mean, that's, I think, what's so amazing for me, about meeting people online. I've always been fascinated. I mean, I'm Gen X, so I come from remembered a time without computers, but I also got them very young. I started seventh grade with computers, and then I was immediately. I don't know if you did this or not. Did you get in the chat rooms like ICQ and stuff early on? Yeah.
No, no.
So for me, I did.
I was late on in terms of my computer experience. I mean, I didn't sit in front of a computer face to face with a keyboard until I was pretty much in my late teens, actually. In my late teens, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And do you remember AOL? Remember AOL? And
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, and the eons it used to take for a page to upload, and you
Yep.
couldn't phone, and you had one dedicated line, and it was that sound, right? That sound
Yeah.
will haunt me to my death. It was like the sound of endless hell as the page uploaded, right?
I think pretty much all of us from that age of the beginning of it all will always remember that sound. Oh,
Ding
and
dong,
you've
ding
got
dong,
oh,
yeah, yeah, ding dong, yo, yeah. Oh, horrible, horrible. Scares me, that scares me, that.
I know I actually do have the you got mail ends up in my dreams sometimes.
Oh wow, yeah, I remember that too. I remember that. It's so cool. But look how far we've come, right? Look how far we've
Yeah.
come. Do you
I mean,
think?
you're connected instantly these days. You can still use your phones at the same time. We're transmitting so much data. And I mean, but that started for me. I mean, getting an AOL, I mean, yeah, it was the first time I really started connecting with people around the world and started the ability to have a conversation with anybody around the world. And I just took to it because I love conversations with people. I love getting to know people. And so when the ICQ chat rooms came out, I was not only meeting people online, I was meeting new people in person. I mean, I went ahead and took it both levels and I just was hooked. I mean, from there, I was hooked. MySpace, then Facebook, and for me, it's always been. I got into gaming. I was heavy into gaming because World of Warcraft my thing. But it was for me, even with the gaming, it was the connection of people that I can meet and build relationships. I mean, I literally gamed with people around the world, spent loads of hours with them doing this stuff. And it's just translated for me into business because I adore those connections and just meeting people and being able to connect people. And that's kind of what I get to do in business now.
It's so cool. It is so cool what you do, Heidi, and you do it so well. Um, do you get a range of clients through the door, from the biggies to the smallies to the founders to the entrepreneurs to, large multinationals? Is it everyone and anyone who comes to your door looking for help and support?
Well, what I'm doing now, I mean, I did spend over a decade working for large corporations, helping
Mm,
do their content, social media management. But now I work with mostly small and mid-sized business owners because I've kind of gone back to my roots. I just see the struggle for small and mid-sized business owners to really come online and connect and do marketing in a way that feels good because
mm,
a lot of the marketing strategies we're taught, and This is not man hating or anything like that, but almost all of the marketing we're taught is old school marketing that came mostly from men. And there's not a lot of flexibility in it, and guys have a different perspective than women do. We need more flexibility. A lot of women are working around kids or their caregivers, or they've got different, and we just think a lot differently. Whereas men will come in and they'll sit down and they'll work at a job 8, 10 hours a day, or at least a good 5 to 6, and they're okay with that. It's a different thinking. And
Mm,
so what I started noticing, it was how rigid a lot of the marketing strategies that people are trying to apply are out there. It's like, oh, you must do this. I mean, like Alex Hormozy, for one, is one who tells people to send out 100 DMs a day. The people in your network. Literally DM 100 new people each day to your networks. And there's a lot more hustle and grind to it, whereas that doesn't resonate with women. And I'm starting to find a lot more men, so I say I work with more women business owners and enlightened men, because it's
mm.
those men who actually want that flexibility. They don't want to hustle and grind it out, and they realize there's a better way of connecting as well. But women are connectors. We tend to work better in that atmosphere. So I started seeing that all these marketing tactics were a lot of hard sell, a lot more what we call the bro marketing, the pain point pushing. It's just not fun. I mean, I know you don't enjoy it either.
No.
And that's one thing we connected over as well. And I started realizing we don't have to do it this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
We could do it in a way that works for us. You got a 2 hour block, fine, do it. You just want to be able to talk to people without having to cold pitch them, or without having to hammer like the knife and keep that wound open so that they're hurting. We don't have to do that. And I just really wanted to empower more people, especially, more of the businesses who were struggling with those particular type of tactics, to show that you can do marketing in a way that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it, it's absolutely true what you say. And I think it's for me, as I know this view, it's through the power of connection rather than through the power of the algorithm that works for both our businesses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the algorithm is there, and if you follow all the
Yeah.
steps in the algorithm, right, it's very cold, it's very clinical. The algorithm will tell you what to do, but actually, it's through making real connections with people.
Yeah, and it does. And it's not saying, and now I'm not one of those people that says you shouldn't understand the algorithm at least to know
Oh,
how that works. It's,
absolutely.
it's your visibility gatekeeper. You
Yeah,
do need to take it into consideration that there are a certain amount of actions, and I call this the bare minimum up to a marketing strategy, is the minimum amount of actions needed to keep the algorithm keeping you visible.
yeah,
And so we do need that part, but it can be done in a way that feels good. So it's not about catering to the algorithms as much as it is just using the algorithms to help us. Because when you switch your mindset on that and realize it's not scary, I mean, literally, algorithms are programmed to keep you online as long as possible by making your feed exactly what entices you to stay. That's literally the only intention of
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And so when you realize that, and that you can manipulate it as a tool, like any other tool that you use, I mean, doesn't matter. Zoom is a tool. We're using it, right? We use it strategically in our businesses to connect with people. Think about that same thing with the algorithm, and then it becomes not scary. It's just like, okay, I need to do this because with like Zoom, I need to set up a call. I got to turn it on. I got to get the other person on the other side. I got to hit if I'm going to record. You got all these things you do. The algorithm's no different. So you take that away, but you keep the people connection side of it, because the things the algorithm requires is still the things we need to connect to people, which is a certain amount of content, a certain amount of comments, a certain amount of connection.
yeah.
So
And that takes the pressure off then, right? Because you're not so clinically focused on, getting 100 DMs a day, or posting all this
ugh.
nonsensical content that actually doesn't really connect with what you're trying to say to people, right?
Again, but look, we just brought the human back into it to the algorithm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yet people are so scared of it, and it's just. Is this cool? I know a lot of people are like, well, you'll know, nobody understands the algorithms. I actually do. I know how to do them. I did that in uni. That was my degree.
Yeah,
So I do know how they work.
yeah,
They're if-then statements. That's all they are.
yeah.
If this happens, then
Return.
do this. If
Yeah,
this
yeah,
does not happen, don't do that. That's
yeah,
literally all they are. But bring the human back in it. All the algorithms require, because all social media platforms want you to do is stay on the platform and make connections.
yeah.
That's what they're there for, so that they can show you ads. And if they show you ads, they get money. And that's where it's at. They're getting your data. That's literally all it's about. But we can bring the connection or human side back into it by saying, okay, well, what they need from me to do that is conversation through content, comments, and connections. That's all we need. And we do that strategically, then all of a sudden you're building a network full of your clients.
Wow, is that the secret sauce, Heidi?
Really is.
Wow. Well, folks, you heard it here first, all right? Live on episode 6 in the spotlight with Heidi. Heidi's just really revealed the secret sauce, the magic ingredients that we all need to raise our awareness online.
Yeah. Be
Amen.
human, connect humanly. Think about it, to have a conversation, and you're going to do so much differently. You're going to think and feel so much differently about social media as well.
Absolutely. Heidi, obviously, where can people reach you? Where's the best place to reach you?
LinkedIn at
Yep,
Heidi Medina. I'm easy.
yep, yeah. And you've got your own website as well, right?
I do. Talktoheidi.com. It's in the middle of an update, but it still works.
You excellent. Um, have you written some books? I see a book behind you.
That is my manifestation one. So I am planning, and I have written other books, but not about marketing. But this one is the one I'm working on manifesting right now. So we created the cover,
Love
all that lovely stuff. It's just the idea of the cover. And yeah, my husband went all out. He made it look a real one. Like I've even got inside stuff.
fabulous. I love it.
But that is the book I'm intending to write. I'm hoping to start on it later this year. The original goal was last year. Then I realized when I started digging into it that I wasn't deep enough into what I do. And so now I'm working with someone lovely, Miss Antonia, to really get deep into everything I do and really bring it. So before I write that, I want to finish this work.
Excellent, excellent. And I'm going to look forward to that coming out. I can't wait. I can't wait. Heidi, I'm honored by our connection. I'm honored by our friendship that we're building. I'm delighted, to have you had an opportunity to share your story, and I appreciate you sharing this morning. And I appreciate your honesty and authenticity and human connection today in this episode. If you're listening to this, ladies and gentlemen, please connect with Heidi in all the usual places: LinkedIn, Heidi Medina, talktoheidi.com. And no doubt we will wait with bated breath that book coming out, Talking into Profits, if not this year, next year. But we will wait. We will wait in grateful anticipation. Heidi, it's been a pleasure to have you on in the spotlight this morning, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be able to share it, and of course connected with you as well. And it's been a total blessing. Thank you.
You're welcome.